Hey everyone, my name is Shane Bassett, the movie analyst, your host, and today's guest is a director who I'm really stoked to meet and have a chat with, Jo-Anne Brechin. Hello.
Oh,
So you're currently in Queensland, so you're in the past and I'm in the future right now.
that is correct. Time travel is real.
Maybe you should make a time travel romance movie.
I would love to make a time travel romance movie.
It's actually one of my favorite genres, time travel. You can do so much with it.
Me too. One of my top three films of all time is about time.
Yes, yes. Well, that movie introduced me to Margot Robbie and a lot of other people as well. She really made an impact in that film, and she hasn't looked back since, obviously.
100%. Yeah, and she was like, she was beautiful in that role.
Yeah,
And yeah, I think well, not compete with somebody like Rachel McAdams, but to hold your own, and no wonder she skyrocketed after.
yeah. She was also on a show called Pan Am, which I never got to see. It's something I'm interested in watching. It was a series she did before she made it big as well.
Right. Yeah, I haven't seen that one. I might check it out.
Yeah, yeah. Christina Ricci is in it as well, so I've got to have a look at that. Now, first question, very important. Do you have a director's chair with your name on it?
With me now?
No,
Or
not with you now, just in general.
I do not have one with my name on it. I mean, hint, hint, Jaggi Entertainment. I would love one. No, there are directors like this. The chairs, the heightened chairs. There are some that appear on set every now and then at the split.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not sure who controls them or mans them. Some days they're there, some days they're not. But they don't have my name on them.
Well, we'll get to Steve Jaggi and Jaggi Entertainment in a minute, but I think that if you keep working for them over a certain amount of projects, maybe you should get one, right?
I mean, I feel like 3 films should be enough for one, right?
How were you a kid with a camera? Like, how did you start directing? Was it something you loved doing as a child, taking photos or home movies? How did you get into the business?
Look, my parents couldn't afford a camera, so I definitely wasn't a kid with a camera. But it was probably around grade 7 or 8. I remember, like, look, I've always been a writer. I've always been a storyteller. My mom still has handwritten stories when I was, 6 years old that are 12 pages long about getting the
Creative writing. That's
yeah,
awesome.
I was always a storyteller for sure. Always the jokester of the family, like always, probably performing more as a kid than I ever would dare to do as an adult. But yeah, so always story was there. But in terms of picking up a camera, I don't think it was until around year 7. When I had to do a history project about Vikings, and
Yeah.
you had the option to write an essay or build a model or make a video. And like, I mean, I grew up in Sydney's western suburbs, so not many people had money or families with cameras. Neither did I. But I borrowed a camera from an auntie, I think, and like a
Yeah.
VHS. Where you had to edit by putting the VHS into the TV thing and then like stopping and pausing. And I made my first film as about the Vikings, and I was, of course, a star with my mum's Tupperware containers and ice cream cones on them.
Wow.
Yeah, my parents really unfortunately salvaged a copy and converted it to DVD. So they have the full collection of all of my films, which is quite devastating.
That definitely needs to be a special feature on a Blu-ray or something one day when one of your future movies, I think.
I'm hoping they only made one copy and that at some point I will sneak in and destroy it.
Oh, really? You think that highly of it? Uh, I'm talking to you. You're in Brisbane, in Queensland at the moment. I'm New South Wales, but you were saying that you were originally from the western suburbs of Sydney. Did that sort of hinder you wanting to be in the filmmaking business, or was it like okay there, or did it take you moving out of town before you got your wish, basically?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's a great question. Yeah, I'm a Westie, loud and proud. I grew up in Seven Hills, and look, I think it would be an untruth to say that it didn't hinder. Like, I mean, obviously, without money and access, which is something that a lot of filmmakers and just the industry in general relies on to get
Yeah.
access. Um, Yeah, I mean, I didn't know any filmmakers. I didn't know anybody in the industry. My family didn't have money or contacts. So, I mean, yeah, like I definitely didn't get any shortcuts for sure. But look, I see that as a positive. Like I worked my butt off for everything. I built every connection myself, and I just started making films. Like I put every dollar that I earned working at McDonald's into making short films,
Oh,
and then took myself off to film school. So I kind of learned by doing, which I think was the best way to learn. So, um, yeah, I mean, it definitely probably made the journey longer and a little harder, but I think it was probably all worthwhile in the end.
this might be a first. You may be the first director I've had a chance to interview that has worked at McDonald's back in
Really?
the day. I don't know. No one's mentioned it before, so there you go. That's a pretty huge stepping stone from Macca's to being a film director.
Blacktown McDonald's to film.
That's unreal. Now, you did a few short films, you moved to TV. Did that help you transition to feature films?
Yeah. So absolutely. Like I think having put, made short films before I even kind of got taught how to make short films, like it really just equipped me
Right.
with everything I needed. And I think really because when you're writing, directing, and producing your own short films, uh what's a feature film really like compared to a short? Like you kind of have to put in all the same amount of work to cast and crew and everything. You just kind of shoot for 2 more weeks. So it definitely like skilled me with all of that. And then I think also then to be in a position now where I'm actually just directing, it's a dream. I'm like, this is a walk in the park compared to writing, directing, and producing.
But do you assist maybe the writer sometimes if you want to change something up? Have you had to do that, or do you are a director that goes straight off the script?
No, that's a great question. I'm very much like, because as a writer, probably first and
Yeah.
foremost, I try and I love and I'm so grateful that Jag Entertainment allow me to be very involved and
Yeah.
collaborative with the writers. I know what it feels like as a writer to hand your baby over to somebody, so I'm very delicate with that process. But no, I mean, film is like the most collaborative art form there is, right? Like if you want to write in a silo with nobody else, write a novel. So it's like
Yeah.
you got to be open to it, like just letting it go and to just letting others make it better and trusting. And it's the same like once Steve and I've worked with the writers and we've brought it to where we think it can be, then I also have to hand over to the actors to like improv or to bring their own things to it. So I think the more you allow it to just evolve and grow, the better it will be. If you hold on too tight, it can't grow.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Editing can also ruin a movie, so it's good to have some kind of say, if you can, towards the final cut.
Yeah, well, like it can make and break, but
Oh,
look,
of
I mean,
course.
yeah, like really lucky to work with some wonderful editors. And again, like I'm super collaborative. Like I'm there from start to finish. I sit in on the edit and, oversee every choice. And but again, I love that collaborative process of like I generally say to the editor, like, you do the first cut. Like, I don't want to meddle with you.
Ah,
I want your fresh eyes. Like, I want your fresh take. Like, you're the first audience member. And
yeah,
then, like, we watch their assembly together and then we kind of work from there. But I think, again, it's important to let somebody else who you trust come in and, like, piece it together. Maybe how you wouldn't have, which could even be better.
exactly. I think so too.
Yeah.
But we've mentioned his name a couple of times already, Steve Jaggi, producer extraordinaire. You've worked with him on multiple occasions, but can you recall going back to when you first met him? Did he handpick you, or did you have to audition for him, or do some work for him to sort of get your foot in the door? How did that meeting come about?
If anything, I feel like I handpicked Steve. like, like we had done my first feature Zelos, and we literally had no idea what we were doing, and so we kind of reached out to somebody who we thought had a lot more experience with. And this is going back 2017, so what, 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, so that's actually 7 years now.
Yeah, see, math is not my strong point. I'm a writer. But so yeah, and then we were like, oh, please, somebody help us. And thankfully, Steve kind of came to our rescue and helped, produce the film, which was wonderful. And at that time, he was based in Sydney, down in Chippendale, so it all worked out really well. And then I went off to do another film with another production company down in Melbourne. Steve was, making a million films, as Steve is always successfully doing.
Yeah,
And then he went to Brisbane, and somewhere in between that patch of time, he moved his offices to Brisbane. So we sort of didn't, have anything to work on necessarily for a few years. And then my partner had to move to Brisbane for work. So I let Steve know. And I think we were meant to move up here in December. And Steve called me in October, and I was on a flight the next day to come and shoot a film early. I slept on the floor on a mattress and made a film with Steve again.
Man, that's dedication. Just the next day, spontaneously go up there and then sleep on a mattress at the same time. That's
Yeah,
huge.
I had a kettle and a mattress. It definitely was not how I would recommend directing. But look, that's like, it's kudos to Steve, because like he is just so prolific, and there's nobody that I know of in Australia who's making films as frequently or as successfully as he is. And so when Steve calls and says, "Can you be there?" it's going to happen. So you get there.
Yeah, very, very true. What's one of the best attributes about Steve that you can tell me? Is it something he does for you on set, or does he give you advice? What sort of benefits or positives is it working with him?
But I would say his kindness. Like Steve is a very kind man, and I think a lot of people see producers as these kind of like big scary people controlling the budget. But Steve is not like that, and I think again, like a testament to that is the fact that he has so many amazing people around him who work like who repeat crew, like as opposed to repeat customers, but like people want to work with him over and over and over again, and I think nobody's going to do that if you're not great to work with. I think another really beautiful thing about Steve that I don't think a lot of producers do is like he really does give a lot of trust to the directors.
Right.
Like again, he doesn't, obviously he's overseeing everything and he's making sure buyers are happy and everything like that. But you know, it's not until I say, "Oh, okay, I've got my first cut," that then he'll come in and watch it. Like he doesn't meddle. He lets you really have that space to kind of pull your vision together, fix any mistakes you've made, like pull it together and then present it to him, which I think is the best, because it's like sometimes if you jump in before something's ready, you're
Yeah.
kind of seeing things half baked. And so I really love that he gives directors space to really present him their best vision.
Well, it's great that he gives you space, like you said, but does he ever give you too much space? Do you go over budget or go over time and he has to tap you on the shoulder, or that's all kept in line when you work with him?
No, look, I mean, I haven't heard this from Steve's mouth. Sorry, Steve, if this didn't come from you, but I have heard other people tell me that Steve's calls me like, is it like the no pickup director? Like I've not done any pickups for any of the three films that I've worked for Steve on. And again, I think that links back to like making films myself as a
Sure.
writer, director, and a producer. Like I'm a director, yes, but I have a producer's mindset in terms of like if it's not working on schedule and budget, like that's going to impact something else of my vision. So I'm always striving to make it work on budget and on schedule. And I remember actually the very first day. So that film that I jumped up early, very first day on set of When Love Springs. So I hadn't worked with Steve in, 5 years.
Right.
And we had 12 pages to shoot that day.
Whoa, 12
Like,
pages.
and this is also post-COVID. So most of us hadn't even been on set for 2 years.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Especially because coming from Sydney, I was in lockdown for like 6 months. So anyway, thankfully the bicycle analogy applies to film. But yeah, I was like 5 minutes till wrap, and Steve shows up and stands behind me at the monitor, and I'm like, oh God, I'm nervous. And we were trying to get all these takes in before, like obviously we were on the last setup, but I kept going for takes, and like we probably only went for 4 in the end, but he was like just quietly, politely just looking at his watch every time I turned around just to make sure I wrapped on time. And there was a discrepancy between the time code on the split I was looking at and his watch.
Oh,
And so he tapped me on, I said, I want one more take. He tapped me on the shoulder and he said, no, we're at, I was like, according to this split, we're not at wrap yet. I got 40 more seconds, roll again. And so we wrapped perfectly on time and I got the takes I needed. And I think, Steve also probably, hopefully in that moment saw that like, I'm not going to go over, but I'm also going to squeeze every second I can out of the day to get the best film possible. So he doesn't rock up anymore and look at his phone, his watch, sorry, behind the split.
well, maybe he turned up 5 minutes before wrap because he wanted to kick off the wrap party. Maybe that was the reason.
Probably. Although I have to say, on our designing Christmas film, we did run over a few days, but I like to think that was no one particular's fault. It was just dealing with snow machines in the middle of Brisbane in
Wow.
30-degree heat, and just like the logistics that come with that. We did run over a few days, but again, no pickups. So yes, I think he trusts me with time management.
Very cool. Yeah, I've heard the stories from other movies that he's produced as well. Snow machines in heat waves in Queensland. Pretty unique when you think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Unique is a very polite euphemism for it. Yeah.
Okay, so Mistletoe Moments is one of your movies, and this is my poor, lame excuse of some a prop I was going to show you. I think it came a Christmas present on a bottle of wine or something that I got, but it's a segue into your movie Mistletoe Moments. I've been told once you make a Christmas movie, you're set because it gets watched every year. Is that correct?
I don't know. We've only had one Christmas since we
That's
made it.
true. That's
I don't know
true.
yet. Time will tell. Yeah, I mean, hopefully that would be nice. But look, I do know that like the Great American Channel, who did, Mistletoe Moments, I think Christmas movies are their,
Yeah.
their biggest things. So yeah, it was definitely nice to get asked to do one, and hopefully we'll do some more. I know that Jaggi Entertainment has procured a lot more snow machines since we did that one, so I'm excited to play with a lot more snow than we had.
Well, I hope you've got better props than my Chris bottle of wine prop anyway.
Look, we could use you can't have enough Christmas in a Christmas movie, so we'll take every prop we can get.
Well, Mia Gunwald was in that movie, and you've worked with her a couple of times. Brisbane girl. What is it like working with the same? Is that your choice? We touched on it before, where Steve sort of has the same crew or actors. Do you like that concept as well, working with actors that you've worked with before, or do you like new faces coming in and out, or a bit of a mix?
Look, I mean, with crew, hands down, the team at Jaggi Entertainment, it's like family. Like, and it just the fact that you can then, all rock up every time on a shoot, you then don't have any of the obstacles that come from communication or knowing each
Yeah,
other's style or workflow. So in terms of crew, it's an amazing setup, that kind of studio setup he has, where you just as a family you jump from project to project, and the shorthand is so amazing. But I
great.
think like with cast, like, I mean, I really think it depends on the project. Like, it's always got to be the best person for the job, and for the
Sure, yeah.
character. But I mean, when it aligns with that, I love working with people again. I mean, I would work with every single one of the stars of these shows again. I mean, I know Merritt Patterson, who was in One Perfect Match.
Yeah.
We're kind of constantly Instagramming each other, like scheming what we can work together on next. So I think, yeah, when people are great to work with and they're great at what they do, then you almost sort of seek out characters for them to play, which is the same case with Mia. We then, found what we could pop her in because we know that she's so reliable, she's so great, she rocks up, she's so professional. And, so it's why would you take, a risk on somebody that, you don't even know is going to be able to tick all those boxes, plus give a great performance and be great to work with.
Is there someone you'd like to work with that you haven't worked with yet? I'm sure the list is long, but can you name someone you'd love to direct?
Oh gosh, I mean, yeah, I mean, look, I wouldn't say no to Margot Robbie.
Yeah,
um,
totally.
yeah, I'm going to say Margot. I mean, she would definitely. I mean, Ryan Gosling as well, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure that I'm not going to put it on a bucket list because I'm just not sure that that's realistic. But who knows?
Aim high, aim high. That's really cool. Uh, Now you're a writer as well, but you've worked with Ainsley a few times. Another collaborator that obviously you get along very well with, and obviously may work with again. Is it fun working with her?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, like a three-time partnership, I think,
Yeah,
at this point. And yeah, look, I mean, Ainsley is very talented. She's very fast, which is incredible, and I think rare for a writer. But again, I think Ainsley has that thing that a lot of writers maybe don't, is that she really is willing to like hand over the baby and let it grow. And I mean, from her comments and her notes to me, she's been really thrilled with how it's grown each time.
that's good.
But yeah, like I think that potentially stems from the fact that she's also an accomplished actress. So she also understands the process that like what the writer hands over isn't, it's really just a blueprint, you know. And
Mm,
I love improv. I love like, and in not only in rehearsals but also on set. Like I'll often, once we've got what is on the page, I'll just
really?
go again just for the actors to give me whatever they want, words and all, you know, like so. And I think that's when you, again, when you hand over and you unleash and like,
Yeah.
well, release, yeah, like control, and you let people bring everything they can to it, you're going to have a better product. So I think I'm really grateful that Ainsley, I think as an actress, understands that, yeah, the more we all let go and collaborate and share, the better it can be.
Yeah, Ainsley Gordon is who we're talking about, and you're right. She being an actor, that will so help any director that she wrote for, I'm sure, like you
And
said.
also, like, she writes lines that she would want to say, you know, so I think that helps to attract cast.
Well, One Perfect Match is probably one of the favorites that I've seen of your films, and everything works on that. But making so many romantic films, comedies, bit of drama, bit of Christmas, like you said, do they all blend into one? I mean, I'm sure you've got other upcoming projects that might be romances as well. Like, or how are they different? Because some people may say they all blend into one.
Look, I mean, I would only say they blend into one because we shot all three of those in a 6-month period.
Back to back. Yeah.
I mean, otherwise, no. But look, I mean, but I think it's only in hindsight that, you know, when I look back, I'm like, oh, which one was that again? But at the time, absolutely not. Like at the time, it's like each one, even though there was kind of only sometimes a week between wrapping an edit and like, you know,
Yeah.
starting on the next one. But I think, you know, because, you know, you try to make every single one of them unique as well. And I think sometimes people kind of don't give romance and rom-coms enough credit. Like, I
I
mean, I
know.
love the genre, and I think it's a cop-out to say that, like, oh, you know, you've seen one rom-com, you've seen them all, or like that they're kind of lowbrow in some way. But it's like, you know, love is like the most mystical element of life, right? So if you can find a way to like capture that on screen somehow, like I think that's pretty impressive. But
Yeah.
yeah, so no, they definitely don't blend into one while you're doing them. And I think
Mm.
that's also because you have different casts, you know, you have such unique characters and different settings. But
Yeah.
I will admit, yes, like doing 3 in 6 months, there is a risk that they
Yeah.
blur. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about a couple of your favorite all-time. I know you said about time, but we'll talk about a couple of your favorite rom-coms or chick flicks in general shortly. But you got some posters there behind you. Uh,
Dude.
yeah, can we have a quick look and can you explain them for me?
So this is the One Perfect Match with lovely
Yeah,
Barrett and Josh. Sorry for my light reflecting there.
that's all right.
Okay. Love comes from unexpected places. And I know that the Steve Jaggi company, like Jaggi Entertainment, they really love this poster because it's quite different from a lot of their other posters. Like most of the posters, I'll show you. Just like, I'm gonna be honest, I have my, oh, you already saw them. I have my pajamas on under this. I'm ducking now. You can edit that part out. So this was the Designing Christmas, which did get changed to Mistletoe Moments. See, your Polly would have fit in quite nicely there.
Oh yeah, well there you go. Like nice.
And then this is When Love Springs, the first one,
Right,
with
yeah.
Shannon and James. So that was the first one that I raced up here to do. And thankfully, I mean, you said about like, I guess Steve trusting. So yeah, I
Mm.
had worked with him for years, came up, didn't even know that it hadn't been pre-sold, so that there was like extra pressure, which thankfully he didn't let me know about. That's probably a good thing. Steve doesn't add extra pressure where it's not necessary. But yeah, worked with incredible editor Ahmed Halimi up here in Brizzy. And then we got Steve in to watch our first cut, and I think he swapped out like 2 shots and sent it off to the buyer. So he was very happy with how it all kind of came out. So I think thankfully he saw then, well, he trusted me with 2 more.
Well, he's a smart operator, and if he thought he only had to change 2 shots or do whatever he did, that means a huge faith in you.
Yeah, and like I so appreciate that. Like Steve has, like when I had to move to Brisbane for my partner's work, I was like, well, this is where my career goes to die. And the complete opposite has happened. You know, Steve has just, you know, helped skyrocket my career. We've got huge film films planned for this year. And yeah, I mean, he is an incredible operator and prolific, you know, and just really wonderful to work with. So yeah, can't wait for what we've got coming up.
Now, quickly back to the posters. I always find it interesting that many filmmakers, creators cannot have much of a say in how they're designed. In any of those ones that you just showed us, did you have a say in how they were designed, or were they as is?
Yeah, look, I mean, I wasn't like there throughout the whole like graphic design process, but I mean, Kylie Pascoe, one of the main producers with Jaggi Entertainment,
Yep,
every film she would send it to me before it was locked and ask for feedback and thoughts and things like
great.
that. So again, like they're such a collaborative company, and I think from memory, I'm just trying to think. Um, oh yeah, I remember sitting in the office because with Kylie
Yeah.
before we started shooting, and she was doing up a press release with the words "Designing Christmas," and I suggested that we put this little snowflake on the eye, and that's so cute that that was something I just said in pre, and it made it all the way to the poster. So
That's good. Your own little touch.
yeah, but I mean, I'm sure somebody else would have thought about it along the way, like the designers, the graphic designers. But yeah, no, again, it's collaborative. They definitely kind of show you and go, hey, do you have any thoughts? But I mean, the posters are great. I haven't had any thoughts really. I've just been like, print, it's wonderful.
Yeah, when I spoke to Steve last year, I said the same thing. That he's got this context about his movies, but also the striking images of some of the posters. Some look similar, but there's always some sort of little identical, non-identical thing about it, even maybe little touches, but they work. So something
Yeah, and
else
I
he's
think
really good at.
that, yeah. So I mean, they're definitely like marketing is a huge
Mm.
strength that I think,
Oh, yeah.
you know, is a rarity. And I mean, again, like Steve has a great team around him, which again is testament to, you know, how good he is that he's got such good people like Kylie and Kyle and Mia and, you know, all these great people who, you know, help bring his vision to life.
Well,
No, sorry, I'm trying to
but
plug my computer in.
oh, yep.
Ooh.
So, Valentine's Day, depending on when you watch or listen to this interview, is only a day away, but it doesn't matter because I think you can watch romantic films any time of the year. I'll give you a couple of my favorites, Jo-Anne, but you're going to tell me some of your favorites. You've already mentioned About Time. Some of the one, I mean, I'm quite partial to a really good rom-com. I always cry. I don't mind admitting that often. But things like classics like When Harry Met Sally, I really enjoy. It's having its 35th anniversary this year as well, which
Mm.
is really huge. Pretty Woman, another one I remember seeing when it first came out as a kid and just loved it. Still do. What else? Sweet November is a movie that goes under the radar a bit with Keanu Reeves and Charlize Theron.
Ooh,
I
I
think
have
that
not seen this.
there you go. See, it just goes under the radar. You have to watch it. It's from 2001, and the chemistry is just incredible in it. And it's got like a little twist in the story, and you don't see it coming at first, but trust me, it's worth seeking out. Sweet November. There's so many. I mean, Four Weddings and a Funeral is another one that I
So good.
just, yeah, I just crack up at all the time. I love Hugh Grant, Andy McDowell, and so forth. But I could go on and on and on. But what about you? Have you got any favorites that you could suggest to people to watch?
Yeah, I mean, I would second all of those. Look, I'm a fan of the like the old school rom-com as well. All of the classics you mentioned. I mean, anything really that Sandra Bullock does, and I did love like Katherine Heigl when she went through her kind of like 2000s phase with like
Yes.
Ugly Truth and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, also for me, like I don't know if you'd strictly call it a rom-com, but I do. But Lars and the Real Girl.
Yeah, no, see, that's an obscure rom-com or obscure, let's call it an obscure romance.
Yeah. And like for me, that's just such a beautiful film. And I like that's where I've enjoyed, not that I don't enjoy Ryan Gosling in general, but like
Yeah,
most like I've enjoyed him most there. I think the character he created there with Lars is just so beautiful. And you know, the romance plot between he and Bianca, I think the doll's name is,
that
as well
was it.
as like
Yep.
Margot, the real life girl. Um, you know, I just thought that is, you know, if I could make a film like that, I'll die happy. But also then, you know, I'd say the other one that just came to mind is Crazy Stupid Love.
Oh, well, there's another one that's not your straightforward romantic. It's more of a romantic drama, that one, I guess you could call it.
Yeah, and there's so much comedy in it though, but not always related to the romance, I guess. I do love me some genre hybrids, but also some classics. I love One Fine Day, like Michelle Pfeiffer and George Clooney.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
and
great
going back
film.
even earlier, again, it probably wasn't even called a rom-com back then, but like African Queen with Humphrey Bogart and
Katharine Hepburn.
or and Katharine Hepburn. That's right. And I just love, like, I really love writing and directing like really contained films. Like, look, don't get me wrong, it's amazing when you get a budget to go and do all these amazing things, but um I love some of those like quiet, calm, two people in one location kind of films. And so for me,
Yep.
like African Queen, even though it may not have been called a rom-com, and because I guess it was probably made in the 70s or 60s or something, they couldn't, there was no sex, there was no like explicit romance per se. But I mean, it's still two polar opposites. Like I think he's like
He's
like kind of an
he's
entrepreneur.
a bit of a, he loves his drink. He's a riverboat captain. She's a little bit more well-to-do. Opposites
Oh,
attract,
and
which is
he's like a Catholic missionary, like who's come there to like convert people to Christianity, and like so it's a classic rom-com. We got two polar opposites like forced together on a boat down the river to escape the Nazis of all things. But like even though there was nothing explicit there, I still feel like structurally and the dynamics, it's really beautiful rom-com.
yeah, it is. It's got some comedy in it, but it is more of a romantic sort of adventure, even
Yeah,
you could call it.
yeah. And I mean, I
It,
feel like all of those genres go so well together. I do love where it has a little bit of everything.
yeah, I mean, African Queen is something that stands the test of time. And Katharine Hepburn actually she wrote a diary while she was making the film, and so she's released it as a book. It's really good if you get your hands on it, because there was a lot of behind the scenes stuff that happened because they were filming on location, and actually on the water and in the jungle, and a lot happens. So, and the director and Humphrey Bogart would get together and get drunk every night as well. So it's a really good book if you get a chance to read it. Her diary on the African Queen. It's
Oh,
good.
that's awesome. Well, I actually also have one on again, it's probably more adventure action than romance, but it's got the, arguably the best romance plot of all time is like Princess Bride. Uh,
Oh, well, yeah.
and I've got the book of I can't remember the lead actor's name, but he wrote like his book
Carrie
kind of,
Elwes.
yeah, like keeping his kind of like journal through the time and meeting the director and the whole process. So
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's just enough. I mean, I watch that film once a year easily. It's just like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Kerry was in Australia last year, and they had a screening of the Princess Bride with a live orchestra, and he came out and introduced it at the start. And it was during it was during the actors' strike, but he got permission to come to Australia. He wasn't doing interviews or anything. He just came to do the introduction,
Wow.
and then take some questions at the end, a bit of a Q&A. So yeah, that was pretty special. I was down in Melbourne for that. I flew down especially, and I love the Princess Bride. That's one of the greats.
Yeah, absolutely. And no, I mean, and kind of on those genre hybrids, like I'm really, really fortunate that, as I said, I guess Steve has really just been like, shepherding is probably not the right word, but just, I guess, like empowering my career and elevating it. Like these three films are scripts that Ainsley wrote. There's one that I'm doing for him the first half of the year that somebody else has written, but again, we're quite collaborative on that one. But towards the end of the year, Steve has picked up one of the films that I co-wrote with a fabulous writer from Sydney called Seaton. He brought me the script some years ago, and then we co-wrote it together, like redrafted it together. And so, yeah, it's sort of very exciting that Steve's now kind of picking up some of my originals or co-originals, which is, yeah, just very exciting. And that's very much like a genre blend of kind of comedy, romance, action, life or death stakes, all the things.
That's great. Now, I want to know though, if you can tell me, are any of these movies that you're doing this year in tropical locations? Because sometimes Steve has location shoots, right up at the Whitsundays and beautiful places like that. Are you going to any of those nice
Oh,
resorts?
Well, I mean, I'd like to think we are. I mean, I've not got to go up to Cairns or one of the beautiful areas, but I mean, Brizzy has so many beautiful, but you don't
True.
have to get far out of Brizzy. Well, even within Brizzy, there's just so much. And, in Sydney, you have to drive like 2 or 3 hours to get to somewhere different, like vineyards or mountains or beach. But like in
Yeah.
Brizzy, it's sort of half hour away, in each direction. So, but no, I am not sure. I know that one of them is definitely set tropical. I'm sure we'll be doing some stuff. I heard the sort of Moreton Bay area mentioned in a pre-meeting. I mean, I'm not going to argue if we have to fly up far north, and although I'm not a fan of the heat, that's the only drawback of Brizzy. So
True.
maybe the further south we stay, the better for me.
Would you be up for making a musical, do you think? You know that musicals are quite popular again, and it always blends in with romance. Is that something that you think you'd like to do, or write a musical maybe?
Look, I mean, I'll never say never. I used to write a lot of poetry as a kid. I used to thought I'd be a good lyricist. Yeah, I mean, also if you're going to ask the question about anybody you'd like to meet dead, it would definitely be Bernie Taupin, who wrote all of Elton John's songs.
Yes, yes,
Very
right.
much love lyrics, but I mean, so in that sense, I would love to like write the songs. I'm just not like, if I'm being really honest, I'm just not like a lover of musicals. Like it's got to be a particular, like
Sure.
don't jump over myself for musicals. Like I mean, although once, have you seen Once?
I have, yeah, quite a while ago, but I
Yeah,
remember seeing it.
and it won like the Academy, or at least was nominated or something for Academy Award for Best Musical, but it was like a $300,000 Irish
That's
film,
it.
which
Yeah.
didn't even have, they were non-actors, they were musicians. So, I mean, that kind of musical, yes, I would jump to write, and also that was really beautiful because it wasn't scripted. The director just went in with the treatment, and then well, they're not actors. The musicians just improv the whole thing pretty much. So, I would love to make something like that. Yeah, it would definitely depend on the tone. Well, I guess I would probably bring maybe a not strictly classical musical tone to it because they're
No.
not my true love. Yeah,
Well, some of Steve's movies, the actors break out into songs, especially in Christmas. So, well, there's a musical interlude. So he's dabbled in
that's
it, but I
true.
don't. Yeah, you never know. There might be a
That's
musical.
true. Yeah, we did that with Designing Christmas or Mistletoe Moments. Like
That's
Susie
it.
Abramite had to sing a song while decorating the tree, and thankfully Susie was a pop star in a former life, so she could belt out a tune. Um, yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't say no. I feel like also I would have to have a big warning to all the cast that I am
Right.
tone deaf. So that could be the only thing. I could dance until the sun comes home, but don't ask me to like hold a tune. So, I mean, I'll karaoke, but it won't be pretty.
Okay. Well, good to know.
Yeah.
Maybe no musicals for Jo-Anne.
Maybe. Might be safer for everybody.
Now, before we wrap it up, I've got a few quick questions to ask you, and just answer them the first thing that comes to mind. This one, I'm suggesting I already know the answer, being from Western Sydney, although you never know. Can you surf?
What do you think?
Potentially, yes.
I've I've tried surfing once in my life. I believe I
Okay.
got up on the board for all of about 3 seconds. So I
Oh,
would say
well.
that's a success, but if but truthfully, no, I can't surf.
What about can you cook?
Oh yes, I love cooking. I'm definitely the cook in the family.
What's your specialty dish?
Well, it's not necessarily anything in particular. My partner is a health nut
Okay.
and fitness freak. So basically, I would say my specialty is finding a delicious recipe and then swapping out all the unhealthy things for healthy things, or finding
Smart.
other ways to make it still taste great without cream and butter and sugar and all the things. Like we don't have any of those things in our house, so I would say that's my superpower, maybe.
Here's one not from my list. So, with craft services, then when you're working on a project, do you take your own kind of healthy food, or is it they supply enough healthy food that you've got those options?
No, and I did specifically say my partner is a health nut. No.
See,
No, look, I am a lazy health nut. I love to eat healthy. I love healthy food. I cook healthy food. But look, if there's some delicious, like buttery goodness in front of me, I'm not holding back. And so, probably for me, I mean, look, there's always healthy food on set, and Jaggi is great at that. But I think on a couple of times we've also had like you know, prawn dumplings for brekkie as an option. So, you know, I'm first in line for the prawn dumplings.
Well, when you said your partner's a health nut, I thought it sort of, you know, fell over it for you as well, but that's okay. I mean, we're all going to
Little.
live. We're
I
going
mean,
to
I
live.
can definitely be healthier.
What is something that nobody knows about you, or a habit that nobody knows about you?
Ooh, good question. These are things I normally ask people when I'm doing documentaries. Gosh, if I'm being really honest. Okay, so this is something, and I'm only sharing because I'm quite proud of it, is that I would say up until last year, I never made my bed.
Okay.
I It's funny, everybody would meet me in professional life. I'm very organized and very, like, you know, like I said, scheduled, no overtime, blah blah blah. But personal life and admin, whew, you know. But yeah, I'm a messy bedroom person until a year ago when I read Atomic Habits, and I now make my bed proudly every day, which I do think contributes to, like, it does set you up for the day better, and therefore in life better. So make your bed, kids.
Well, I've got sort of a semi-confession because I won't make the bed every day. Just occasionally I might pull it up, but I rarely tuck it in. I just pull it up.
Oh yeah, look, I mean, I'm not a tucker in or out, but I mean, I like, for me, it's a huge step that I pull it up and neaten it out, and when I walk away, you know, it's ready for me that night.
This is one of my favorite questions to ask filmmakers and actors and people in our business. What other career would you be doing if you weren't a director, writer, filmmaker? What career do you think you'd be doing or would like to do?
Well, I mean, straight out of high school, I went straight into psychology at Sydney Uni. I had no backup plan. That was my dream. And I remember at the time, actually, I was dating a stand-up comedian and a script, like, screenwriter and actor. And I remember meeting him and I think I actually said these words out loud. I was like, the last thing the world needs is another movie. Like, what, you know, I'm doing more important things.
I don't want to hear that. That's terrible.
And then 6 months into my psychology degree, I'd run away to film school. So
Good.
I learned my lesson. Yeah, definitely kept, yeah. Anyway, so maybe a psychologist.
Okay. Okay.
I think I had to give people CPR before. I feel like I might make an okay paramedic. Think I'm all right under stress, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to, because people are gross, and, you know, it sounds like really hard work. But maybe
Yeah.
psychologist. Yeah.
Yeah. People can be gross, and I feel for paramedics and the way they're treated sometimes. It's not always
Yeah,
great.
I feel like
Yeah.
it's probably 10% of the really good, uplifting, heroic stuff, and then 90% just dealing with people who, you know,
Yeah.
really, yeah, they
Now,
shouldn't be dealing with.
finally, this will give me an idea on your music tastes, probably. Now, final question. If you were a prize fighter, a boxer, and you know how they come in through the door and in through the crowd, you know, running like this to a song or some music, what would be your signature song that you'd love to go into the boxing ring to
Oh gosh.
and pump
Well, I mean,
everyone
I've
up?
always said that, like, if reincarnation is real, I'd like to come back as Stevie Nicks, minus the, like, addiction, hence the hair, probably. But I don't know that anything Stevie did is, like, probably, like, I don't know, boxing ring worthy.
Yeah, okay.
I would
That's all
probably
right.
have to pick something from the Stones, like Painted Black, or, you
Yep.
know, something like that. I mean, I'd come into any Beatles song really, but yeah, I'm gonna go with Painted Black.
So it's Stevie Nicks song on the way out, and the Stones Paint It Black on the way in.
Yeah, yeah, because, you know, Stevie's would work if when I get my face belted in, and then you know, there can be
Oh,
some sad, like, sonnet playing for me, like being carried off. Yeah.
well, I was going to mention the big hair, but you already did. So, you know, that's a fashion statement. I like it.
Thanks. Well, I am a Leo, so, you know, it's my main.
Right. Well, thank you very much. It's been exciting talking to you. I look forward to some more projects, and one of these days I'll end up on a Jaggi set, hopefully, and get to meet everyone in person.
Only if you promise to wear that tie.
Thank you. It's an old one, but it's a favorite. It's Ken Dome tie.
I love it.
The
What are they? Are they shapes, or are they like little things?
they're like little opera houses.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, they're little opera houses, basically.
Or maybe we
Thank
can
you.
get you a Queensland version. Like maybe they can be little like, I don't know what the bridges are here. Like,
I'll take it, whatever it is. That'd be
yeah,
good.
or like little 4X golds everywhere. It's probably
I
more.
feel like I like putting my ties or my shirts or my vests to the people I'm talking to. And I knew you'd be bright and fantastic. And, yellow is so it's inspirational at times and different. So it's been really
Oh,
good
thanks.
talking
Well,
to
look,
you.
I put on my best pajama shorts for you. So.
Fair enough.